Good evening, Madison family. How y'all doing? Are y'all ready for Candy Fest this weekend? Yeah? I need a little more excitement than that. Come on. Yeah! All right, if y'all don't mind standing and joining with us in worship this evening. I searched the world, it couldn't fill me. Man's empty praise, treasures that fade, never enough. You came along, put me back together. Every desire is now satisfied. Oh, here in your love. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing. Nothing is better than you. I'm not afraid show you my weakness, oh, my failures and flaws. Lord, you've seen them all, and you still call me friend. 'Cause the God of the mountain, oh, he's the God of the valley. There's not a place your mercy and grace won't find me again. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Lord, there's nothing. Nothing is better than you. Oh, there's nothing. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Lord, there's nothing. Nothing is better than you. Oh, you turn mourning to dancing. You give beauty for ashes. You turn shame into glory. You're the only one who can. You turn graves into gardens. You turn bones into armies. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one who can. You're the only one who can. You're the only one who can. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Lord, there's nothing. Nothing is better than you. Come on, let's sing that out one more time. Oh, oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Lord, there's nothing. Nothing is better than you. Y'all believe that this evening? There's nothing better than him. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Just gonna keep singing about his goodness this evening. I love you, Lord. Oh, your mercy never fails me. And all my days I've been held in your hands. From the moment that I wake up until I lay my head, I will sing of the goodness of God. And all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. And I love your voice. Oh, you have led me through the fire. In darkest night, you are close like no other. I've known you as a father, I've known you as a friend, and I have lived in the goodness of God. Oh, we're singing out. And all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, and I will sing of the goodness of God. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, I surrender now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, surrender now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. And all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. Oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. And I will sing of the goodness of God. Aren't y'all thankful he's so good? Oh, God, you're so good. God, you're so good. And God, you're so good. You're so good to me. Just sing that out. Oh, we worship. And God, you're so good. God, you're so good. And God, you're so good. You're so good to me. One more time. And God, you're so good. God, you're so good. And God, you're so good. You're so good to me.
Good. Do you really believe it? Hey, I'm going to need you fired up tonight because I got a message. I'm telling you. If you believe God is good, come on. Give him some praise. It's okay. It's okay. It's Wednesday. Everybody's tired. All of our eyes are kind of shut. You know, we're probably still full from lunch because we promised ourselves we wouldn't eat bad, but we still ate bad lunch, and we got full and tired and needed a nap, but we didn't get it. So we'll just have a seat. Thank you, worship team. Sorry if I'm a little sporadic. I'm thinking about the amount of notes that I'm prepared and I'm not going to get through. Anyway, y'all think I'm lying. If you weren't here Sunday, we did our Faith Promise. We had our Mission Sunday. And if you didn't get a chance, we'd love for you to fill out a Faith Promise giving card if you so desire to do so. And like we said Sunday, we won't tell you an amount to give or what a percentage you should give, but we will unequivocally ask you to ask God what you should give. And the bigger number is best, right? Is that right? Is that how I'm supposed to say it? And then don't forget Candy Fest. Man, y'all are dead tonight. Candy Fest is Sunday night, and I'm looking forward to Mr. Neal's Science Fest at Candy Fest, the Mad Scientist. I love that thing so much. I wish I'd have had a children's pastor that did that, glow in the dark or the black light stuff. I love it. Welcome everybody online. Thank you so much for being here tonight at Madison Assembly for Culture Night. So I'm just going to poll everybody real quick. Who in here serves on the serve team in some way? Even if you don't officially say serve team, you go to Manor House, you cook for Manor House, maybe you pick up trash outside, but keep your hands up. It's okay. Okay, everybody see everybody? Now, who don't serve on the serve team, you got your hands down, I need you to get on the serve team. You have that opportunity the first Wednesday of next month. This is all part of the sermon. It's all part of the sermon. Well, if you serve on the serve team, or if you don't, if you're going to, if you're a small group leader, you do Sunday school, whatever you do, you're here at Culture Night. This is the cream of the crop. That's the way I was raised. The cream of the crop got talked to differently. They got preached to differently. And so tonight, I'm coming from that leadership perspective, but because like I said Sunday, I spent last week in beautiful Charleston and just, getting poured into and on the drive home while I sat by myself because Katie was asleep, I wrote an entire message in my head. So just had something start stirring in me, just started thinking about a story. And so that's what I'm going to bring you tonight because I really do believe of where we're going in the next couple of months and the things we're going to do and the things we have planned. I really believe that it's important that we do what Culture Night says is we talk about culture, like what our culture actually is and how we get through some of the things that are coming. Because the story that I alluded to on Sunday was that of the Israelites finally make it to the Jordan River, and they're looking at the Promised Land and they're getting in that valley. They're in the river valley and they're looking over and, they come together. I don't know why they needed to survey the land. There was no reason. Moses even said, hey, I just thought it was a good idea. We'll grab 12 leaders together and y'all go look at it for a month or so and bring some stuff back, show us what's over there, check out the land, check out the people, check out all these things. And so they did it. And we'll pick up in Numbers. There's two parts that this story is explained in two different parts. It's explained in Numbers, and then we'll pick up in Deuteronomy too. But it said this, that the Lord said to Moses, send some men to explore the land of Canaan, which I am giving to the Israelites. Key word there is giving. From each ancestral tribe, send one of these leaders. So at the Lord's command, Moses sent them out from the desert of Paran. All of them were leaders of the Israelites. And so we have this story that they're looking at the Promised Land. This is the thing that had been promised long time ago. And finally, after having to go through slavery in Egypt, after hearing every grandkid heard their grandfather talk about this promise that God talked about. And while they're sitting in Egypt, it probably didn't look like it was ever going to come. It became one of those, maybe for the kids, it just came one of the things, oh, Grandpa's talking crazy again. Maybe he's drank too much wine or something. He's being crazy. Because we never getting out of here. And finally, they're at this moment, they're at this spot. And I love this story because for us, and I might be partial because I'm on staff here, but I feel like that's where we're at, that we're at that precipice, that there's been things said over Madison Assembly, there's been things said over our pastors, there's been things said over you, there are all kind of things, and I feel like we're at that point where we're finally there. We're at that precipice, and we've sent some people out to scout territory. We've got some people looking, we've got people buying into the vision and buying into the culture, and we're finally becoming the Madison Assembly that God has always wanted us to be. But there was an attitude problem among the Israelites. And we see that with them because they go out, they send out 12, and they come back, and we pick up in verse 26. And it says, they came back to Moses and Aaron and the whole Israelite community at Kadesh in the desert of Paran. And there they reported to them and to the whole assembly, and then they showed them the fruit of the land. This is, the fruit of the land. They got the cluster of grapes. They literally had a hole between two poles. They bring about, they see the milk and honey. They see this plentiful valley that Canaan is in. that this is where things grow. This is where life, it's vibrant. And it says they gave Moses this account. It says, we went into the land to which you sent us, and it does flow with milk and honey. Here is the fruit. Check out this big old grape. Might be the size of a basketball. But the people who live there, they're powerful. And their cities, well, they're fortified, and they're huge. And we even saw descendants of Anak there, being that they're giants, they're huge. It goes on to explain all the other people that they saw in these places that they didn't think they could overcome. We pick up in verse 30. It says, then Caleb silenced them. So you got the 10 people, you got 12 people that go out, and 10 of them are saying those things like, hey, this is what's happening. We got all these giants. They started off good that, yeah, the land is good. It truly does flow with milk and honey like God said it would. And, you know, the grapes are huge. They probably got good wine. They got some, but then it quickly changes into but. And then Caleb has to stand up and he says this before Moses and everyone, that we should just go up and take possession of the land, for we can certainly do it. But the men who had gone up with him said, the other 10, they said, we can't attack these people. They are stronger than we are. And then they went around the entire community. One version talks about them going from tent to tent, spreading all these bad reports about the land that they had explored. They didn't talk about the good stuff anymore. They didn't talk about all the things that they just reported to the whole community, but instead when it came tent time and tent talk and they sitting around their fires, they start saying, oh no, this is not where we want to go. I think they're leading us the wrong way. We might not be in a denomination no more. We might not be AG. Are we still going to be AG? Are we going to be this? Or what are they doing with the music? When can we bring some hymns back? I don't know what they're doing. We just want to stay here. And they said the land we explored, it devours those living in it. All the people we saw there, they're of great size. They're huge. How can we overtake them? Promised land's right there. Moses sends out 12. One leader, each tribe. And they all have the same external experiences, but their internal conclusions of 10 are very different from what we see Joshua and Caleb come back saying. Joshua and Caleb understood something that's very important, and basically the account comes down to attitude. What is their attitude? What is their view toward this? What is their attitude? They need to check it. And they had these differing opinions. Similarities between the two groups, well, we're talking the 10 and the 2. Similarities they have is all 12 spies were leaders in their tribes. We picked that up. All 12 spies received the same promise, right? I mean, they were all Israelites. They all had the same promise. They all knew what God had promised them and that would give them. And all 12 spies received the same opportunities. All of them got to go check it out, look at it, and see the same things every one of them was seeing. But the majority 10, the difference is that 10 said no, we're not going to do it. They misunderstood their mission. Their mission was not to go there and find out if they needed to conquer the land or if they could conquer it. That wasn't the mission. And then they saw God in the light of their own circumstances. But the 2 saw it this way. They said, go. They were ready. So they had horses ready, whatever they had. We packed up and ready. Their tents already folded down. Let's go, because they understood the promise. They understood their mission. Their mission wasn't to go there to see if they could beat these people, to see if this is truly the land God had given them. No, God said that. They knew the mission was just to go look at it, come back and say, hey, let's hook up and roll. It wasn't to lay back down and say, no, we're just going to stay here, because they saw the circumstances in light of their God. Because they had already been brought through the wilderness. They'd already been delivered from Egypt. They'd already been through they saw the mighty hand of God move in ways that we don't necessarily get to see today. That he showed his glory. He physically brought a people out. 2 million at this point. And here they are on the edge of their promised land. God promised this land. They're on the brink of this. And how do we end up here? 10 saying it's impossible, 2 saying we got it. The major difference is attitude. Their differing reports reflected contrary attitudes toward the land, the divine promises, the people in Canaan, the work involved, the Lord, and themselves. That how they viewed themselves, how they viewed God. So tonight we're going to talk about 2 different attitude views. And I'm going to call them a people, because that's how the Bible refers to it. And the first set of people we're going to talk about people of the desert. People of the desert. And 3 characteristics that I believe that people of the desert have starts with this first one. Is they have a characteristic of just lacking focus. They lack the focus. They're commanded to do something we see here. And they're set out. And this is the story, same story coming out of Deuteronomy. And it's saying, hey, I brought you out of this vast and dreadful wilderness. We've come through Egypt. You've already seen the Amorites. You've already seen these people that you just saw in the promised land. You've already been past these things. And then I said to you, you have reached the hill country, which the Lord God is giving you. That he's already giving it. He's not saying, hey, you're going to have to go fight a lot. Nothing like that. No, he says, see, the Lord God has given you the land. So go up and take possession. If the land wasn't already theirs, would God say, just go take possession of it? Probably not. We see other stories and occurrences where he tells them, hey, you're going to have to fight. He explains to them how you're going to have to fight, but he always says, I will be with you. But in this case, he says, just go take possession of it because it's yours. The God of your ancestors, he told you about this. The same one that's talking to you now. Don't be afraid. Don't be discouraged. But they're people of the desert. They lack focus. They've lost sight of God and what God's actually told them to do. They've lost focus of that mission, of what the mission actually is. I need 3 people. Where's Luke? Luke, come here. Daniel, I need one more. Mr. Neil, I need my O-line. Y'all just stand right here. Right here. Right here. Y'all know what a 3-point stance is? You know what that is, right? I need you to get in a 3-point stance here. You in the middle. You the center. You can just do this. You ain't gotta go all the way. Don't do real 3-point.
Yeah, I gotta get into it.
Get in it, man. All right, everybody likes football. I love football. So this is what I think of. This is what I think about focus. I always wanted to be a running back in football, but when I was in 7th and 8th grade, when I was doing that, I was fat. So they tried to put me where these guys are. I wanted to be back here. I wanted to run the ball. That's what I wanted to do. So I'm living tonight that dream. So I do know. I heard enough from my coach when they were teaching the quarterback. Y'all, no, stay down. Hey, we ain't hiked the ball yet. I know the issue is this. Is when you have a running back, the first thing, everybody thinks Alabama's running backs run straight up the middle all the time, right? Everybody my grandpa fusses so much about that. They just running up the middle, but there's a plan. There's a plan. Okay, quarterback hikes the ball. If I do this and I just run, there's nobody in front of me. There's going to be somebody here, a linebacker, somebody's going to knock me down, right? But the thing is for a running back, the most important thing is focus. Who do you think he focuses on most? Do you think it's the quarterback? No. It's when they hike the ball. We're going to have to figure out how to do this. When they hike the ball, he gets the ball, and you see him stutter because he's waiting for this guy to pull. And he's got a big guy now to run back that's going to get him through the line. He's going to bust out, and Alabama's going to get a touchdown. Everybody say roll tide. Right? See, the thing is, if you can sit down. The thing is the focus is a lot of running backs when they're young and they're just starting out, they're fast. They're usually the fastest guys on the team, and they're in middle school, and they just want to break out and run. They want to show this off. But what the thing is they have to teach them, okay, just because when you get the ball don't mean you start heading upfield. You got to check your focus. Your focus is on the guy that's pulling for it. He's on your blocker. It doesn't matter. It can be anyone on that line. It can be a tight end, be anybody. But whoever's pulling that block, they're going to be the one to protect you, to get you through the line, to get you on the other side, so then you can break out and run. It ain't about how fast you get to the line. It's not all that. It's just, hey, wait for your block to pull. And sometimes it doesn't work. But it's about checking your focus. Where's the focus? If all he's worried about is getting that ball in quarterback and trying to get to a touchdown line, he doesn't have the proper focus. It's the same thing with us. We have to have that proper focus. And they lack that focus. They forgot that the person who was going to pull so they could run the play and take possession of the land was God. They lost that entire focus. The focus, God promised, was that we only need to be courageous on their parts. We just had to take action. We just have to move. We just have to walk. We just have to take possession of the land. But you can't get discouraged in those situations where that happens. The second thing of a person of the desert is they lack faith. They have no faith that things will come. And it's crazy to think about the Israelites. And it's the thing that is my pet peeve with the entire Israelite community, if you want to say, in the Old Testament. Is because it was just like that. I mean, if I saw God bring me out of Egypt, I saw him be, this big, huge flame at night and smoke during the day, all these things. If I saw that, I would think we would understand that he's going to do what he said he's going to do, that he's actually going to move because we've seen it. He's brought us out of Egypt. We saw all of the plagues that happened to Egypt. He's brought us through this wilderness. He's done all these things, but somehow they still lack the faith. They saw the fruit. They saw the milk and honey, even of their promised land. They saw how fertile. And Moses says this, that you were still willing to go up, and you rebelled against the command of the Lord your God. You grumbled in your tents and said, the Lord hates us. They lost faith. So he brought us out of Egypt to deliver us into the hands of the Amorites, to destroy us. Where can we go? Our brothers have made our hearts melt like fear. In another version it says they have discouraged us, because they say the people are stronger and they're taller than we are. The cities are large with the walls up to the sky. They lost faith in the one that had been leading them all around. And even in our situations, if you've been around long enough, you've seen God do some amazing things. But yet when the first thing goes wrong, what do? We lose a little bit of faith. We lose focus. We lack those things. We're more concerned about our abilities. We're more concerned about the lack of a plan or the lack of whatever fits your mode. Because it's scary. We don't know exactly how we're going to do it, so we lose faith because we don't expect God to do what he does. And that ultimately leads to people in the desert, they lack fight. And when I say fight, that's passion. That's that internal I'm going to keep getting up. I'm going to keep doing what I know to do because God has always been faithful. He's never done it. It's that internal drive that no matter what, God made a promise. I've even seen the evidence of it. I've seen his faithfulness. But I'm going to lose my fight. I'm going to let my personal internal problems get the best of me. Whether it's mental, it's physical, whatever it is. That we begin to lose our fight, that we don't want to do this anymore. Even though he's literally only asking us to walk across the river. To take possession of the land that he's given. To walk into the promise that he's given all of us. And as a church, and what we see is Moses again talking to him, and he said, after I said all those things, I reiterated, hey, don't be terrified. Don't be afraid of them. The Lord your God who is going before you, what's he going to do? He's going to fight for you. As he did for you in Egypt. Now we're getting the recount. Before your very eyes, you saw all of this. And in the wilderness, he fought for you. And there you saw how the Lord your God carried you as a father carries his son all the way you went until you reached this place. He's carried you all this way. He has fought for you all this way. He's fought all this way because this is bigger perspective. He's fought all this way from Madison Assembly. He's carried us. He's provided. He's done all of these things for all of us, for this church, for this organization, all the way here. And here we are suddenly looking at the promised land. And we're at that moment, just like these Israelites, because we can end up having 10 who will give a negative report, and God's going to send us for another lap. To quote Daniel's sermon, I don't want to take another lap. There's too many churches been taking laps for 40 years. When they were at the crossroads, they were at the precipice of the Jordan River, seeing the promised land. They had tasted, they had saw the goodness, they had saw the tricklings, they could taste the milk and honey. But there were 10 negative reports. People in the camp stirring up trouble, stirring up, I don't know about this. I don't know what we're... And there'd be 2 saying, no, we got to go. We got to do this. Because that negative report, this ancient commission deprived nearly 2 million people of their inheritance in Canaan because God said, hey, go take another lap. You're going to be out here for a while. You're going to be out here so long that all these people here that didn't think we could do it, didn't think we could go to the Jordan, guess what? You're going to die before you see this happen. That every kid under 20, they're going to make it. But every person over 20, you'll never see it. Never. Attitude makes the difference. to not be the people of the desert, we have to take a conscious step to a positive attitude. Because our attitude, it determines our approach to life, it determines our relationships with people, and it's often the only difference between success and failure, just in life, period. Our attitude at the beginning of a task, at the beginning of setting out to something, it always determines your outcome. Where you're going to end up at the end is always determined by what your attitude is when you start out. So our attitude is important. Our attitudes, it can turn problems into blessings, or it can turn blessings into problems. But attitude can also give you this uncommon positive perspective, that our attitude is not automatically a good attitude just because you belong to God, just because you're God's people, just because you're saved and going to heaven. Doesn't mean you're going to have a good attitude. I've met a lot of Christians that I ain't sure I want them to be my neighbors in heaven because they had such a bad attitude on earth. I know they're going, but Jesus help them. I hope you transform their mind when they get to heaven and give them a whole new one. Because, Lord, if I got to live by them, I'm going to punch them. Y'all going to see me skull dragging people down the golden streets in heaven, I'm telling you. So just because you have an attitude, just because you have a perspective of something and you're a Christian, don't mean it's the right one. It don't mean it's good. In Philippians, Paul says this, and this, I don't want that one. Yes. I clicked two sides in case you didn't see that one. All right. In Philippians, summing it all up, Paul says this, friends. I'd say you'll do your best by filling your minds and meditating on things true, noble, reputable, authentic, compelling, gracious, the best, not the worst, the beautiful, not the ugly, the things to praise, not the things to curse. And that's one thing we have so much problem with right now is not thinking about these things that we can praise. All we think about is things to curse on Facebook, and then it's just, ugh. That's not my message notes, but it's all over our world. It ain't just Christians, although Christians are the loudest, it seems like right now, about everything. We can't find one thing to praise about. We can't find one good thing that's actually authentic, not a conspiracy theory, or one thing that's actually compelling, one thing that's gracious or reputable or noble or even true. We can't find it. And it's all about attitude, because I'm telling you, we are on the precipice of getting into the promised land here at Madison Assembly. You can be on the precipice of the promised land in your life, but we've got to get our attitude straight. Because what I'm calling it, this is what I'm calling it, is we have people of the desert, but the promised land, I don't know if you know this, was in the valley. And we are going to be people of the valley. We are not going to be people of the desert. We're not going to be people walking around for another 40 years waiting for God to show up so we can get to the promised land. We are going into the promised land in 2022, and you can get on the train or you can get run over. Don't be one of the 10 negatives. Don't be one of the 10 negatives. Don't be one of the 10 negatives. If you don't want to be, you don't want to be here. I'm the associate pastor. I say this, the door's right there. I will sign your membership paper and send it wherever you want. Promise you. Because we are moving. God is moving. There are so many things behind the scenes that you haven't seen yet, where we see God moving. And we know he's blessing the vision that he's given Pastor Daniel. And all I'm asking is today is that we be people of the valley. Because the land that was promised, Canaan, it was in this river valley. And valleys are known to be teeming with life. You know, everybody wants to be at the mountaintop all the time, but there are some problems with the mountaintop. You lack oxygen up there. There are things don't grow up there. But the river that comes through the valley comes from the mountaintop. We know we've got to get to the mountaintop. At the mountaintop is where we hear God. It's where things become clearer. But for the most part, everything that grows, everything that brings life, everything that sustains life comes from the river valley. Because where there's life, there's more life. When people see life, you know, like animals. I mean, it's the life cycle. Animals eat the grass, and, you know, and then we eat the animals, and, you know, everybody poops, and it turns into more grass, and it just, it keeps moving. But there's life in the valley, because where there's life, there's going to be more life. In the river floods. It leaves silt behind. I mean, I grew up on the banks of the Tom Bigby. Everybody planted their daggum cotton right up on the banks. And the banks were, 20 foot high, but, man, it would flood. Mr. Neal knows about that river. It would flood. And you have some of the best cotton. Everybody in North Alabama, for some reason, this red dirt cotton, everybody thinks is the best. But no, it's our cotton from South Alabama and over in Dothan. It's because the river has flooded. There's even been, if you want to go way back in time, when the earth was flooded and you got the black belt because you had all that plankton and stuff that landed there, and it just created this fertile soil. It's the place we want to be. We want to be that people of the valley. He wanted to get them out of that desert and get them to the valley. The foundation for getting to the valley and becoming people of the valley first is that first one. That's your foundation. That's your cornerstone, is we've got to get our attitudes right. Even if we're in the desert, we have to think about being people of the valley. We have to think like valley people. So through these building blocks, I've got 4 of them, and I'm going to go through them, that I believe for people of the valley. And really, they're our core values of our team. I'm going to say them a little differently, but they're the core values of Madison Assembly. It's what we operate on. It's on my wall if you come upstairs. It's on, I've got it in notebooks. I've got it everywhere so I can always check myself and realign myself to what I want to do. And the first one is this. Boy, it's hard. Love God. Love God is the first step. It's the foundation. You got the cornerstone, and then you start laying other blocks. And this is the next one, is to love God. Because what people of the valley aren't doing is they aren't looking for just a church. They're not looking for religion. They're not looking for good preaching or a friendly small group. They just want to know God. They're in love with Him. They want to know everything about Him. And before you go any further in the next 3, you have to get this one right. Because your relationship with God, it can't be one born out of religion. I mean, I've said that a million times. I feel like it's born out of love. It's how are you going to respond to God? Are you going to respond to Him as a set of rule books? Because you can. And you're going to fail every time. Because you're never going to be able to keep the rules. Or you're going to fall under what Jesus did for you, that He paid for your sins. He's forgiven them. All of them, past, present, and future. Because God is, and we look for these things in people, and we look for them in, all kind of things. Binging Netflix. We look for satisfaction everywhere, and we try to fill holes and gaps and all these things with just junk. And the truth is God is the only one who's ever going to know you at your deepest levels. Your spouse will never know you as deep as God knows you. He made you. He knows you. He knows the purpose that He designed you for, and you cannot begin to take the next step in your life without loving Him, without being Him. Loving God is the key to life. And we see in Matthew that it says this. Jesus replied, He says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. Everybody should know that. If you went to Sunday school, you know that verse. Backwards and forwards. It's the first thing we have to do. And I believe everybody in here does, so I'm not going to keep preaching on this one. But when you love God, the next one is this. You got to love people. And it's the hardest one. Like that person who always complains, I'm going to beat up when I get to heaven. That's the hard one. I hope I can get to heaven because I don't always love that person. But we got to love people. And in that same verse in Matthew, right after it, Jesus tells us that, hey, loving the Lord your God with all your heart, that's the first and greatest commandment. But the second one is like this. Love your neighbor as yourself. Do we love everybody as ourselves? Will we just throw the keys to our favorite truck to our neighbor? Probably not. Well, you love them as yourself. That might be extreme. When they don't cut the grass like we cut our grass, do we still love them? When they stay up too late and party with their friends and celebrate that Alabama win because Auburn ain't doing nothing, do we love them anyway? When they don't look like us, when they don't act like us, when they don't talk like us, when they don't do all that, do we do that? And he says all the law, everything, hangs on these 2 commandments. That if you don't do anything else, get these right. Because it's the 2 commandments that God gives us, that Jesus gives us. To love the Lord your God, to love people, no matter what. Everybody says, well, I can't love them how they believe. I can't love them how they vote. Well, I got a list of verses for you, so let's do it this way. Because this is what love is. 1 Corinthians says this, that love is patient, it's kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others. Oof, that's a hard one. If you got a Facebook account, you might check that. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. Are we easily angered today? A lot of people? It seems like it, they blow up. You said the wrong word. I don't like that. It offended me. Well, get over it. Get over yourself. It keeps no record of wrongs. How many of us have a record of wrongs right now? Don't you lie. You ain't going to put your hands up, do you? Who said not me? Good. But say it with a smile. I know for a fact there are a lot of people in here that keep wrongs. I know there's a lot of people that dishonor others. And hey, y'all are leaders. I'm talking to you like leaders. You're leaders in our church. We trust you to do things around here. This is not just a wedding verse. This is telling you what love is, what Jesus reflected, because Jesus was love. God is love, and it's kind. Love also, it doesn't delight in evil, but it rejoices with the truth. It always protects. They protect each other. It always trusts. It always has hope. It always perseveres. Doesn't matter what people look like, what they act like, how they sing in church, how they live next door to you, how they drive down the road, what they act like at work, even what their religion is, how they vote. None of those things matter. You know this. You hear it all the time. But it doesn't matter. Because Jesus, I'm going to reiterate it one more time. He said this is the command. This is a new command I'm giving you. Same one, same spot, just in John. He said, just love one another as I have loved you. How does Jesus love you? If Jesus loved you the way you love your neighbors, how would Jesus love you? And do you think that's actually how Jesus loves you? Okay. If Jesus loved you the way that you love other people in this room, how would Jesus love you? You must love one another as I have loved you. Not as I want to love people. As I have loved you. Because he came to forgive you. He literally forgot everything you did, which we saw. That's what love is. And you say, it's not that easy. It's not that easy. Yes, it is. Because just like the Israelites who were supposed to go into the promised land, what did God say he would do? That he was going to take care of it, right? They just need to do what? Walk. Not walk around the desert. Just go take possession of the promised land. Maybe your promised land is forgiveness. You need to forgive some people. Because it's hard walking around for 40 years with unforgiveness in your heart. But we've got to love one another as he loves us. You just have to believe. You just have to do. Because God takes care of the rest. Because, there's healing in your heart that's got to take place. There's healing in your mind that's got to take place. There might be physical wounds or mental wounds, whatever they are. But that's not your concern. That's where God does the work. Sometimes he just needs us to step. And because you get to this point, so we love God, we love people, and because you're at this point, you automatically do the next one. In this verse of Matthew, before we get there, about forgiveness, is if you forgive other people, if you forgive them what they've done to you, when they sin against you, they curse you, they talk bad about you, they cut you off in traffic on 72, and you throw up the finger, or they throw up the finger, and your Heavenly Father, he'll also forgive you. But if you don't forgive, this literally scares me to death. I'm so scared I'm going to have unforgiveness when I get to heaven. I'm going to be a mess. Because this is just one of those verses that's hard. Because if you don't forgive others of their sins, their wrongs, then your Father's not going to forgive you of yours. That's just scary to me. And it's taken me a long time to get to that point. I can honestly say the last, 3 or 4 years, that has become a more prevalent thing in my life that I don't know. People ask me, how do you just get over this stuff? I don't know. Just do. And people, it's one of those things it's just a thing that's of God, that is his Spirit transforming us. He's renewing our minds of what we let go of, what we let roll off of our backs, what we let bounce off of us. Because when you get to these points and and you do all of that, and you love people, you're forgiving them, then we can get to the third thing is people of the valley, they see dead things live. One of my favorite stories is Death Valley. I'm probably going to mess up all these things. Somebody fact check me, but that's what we do today anyway. But Death Valley, everybody knows where that is. Not LSU's football stadium or Clemson's. And there ain't very nothing dead going on there. I'll tell you that. The whole place is dead. They ain't no good. But in Death Valley, it's a desert that looks like this. And a few years ago, it happens every few years. There's not a real science to it, but we had an El Nino, I think is the right one that was in 2016. And what happened is it produced a lot of rain in Death Valley. Well, in Death Valley, when that happens, there's something, it's not magical, it's just, to me, it's just awesome. Is it decided to start raining there. And the seeming place that seems dead, it suddenly came to life in what they call the super bloom. Because in a place that everybody sees as dead, go to the next one, it all of a sudden there's colors appear everywhere. And I mean, there's pictures, you can go look on the national park stuff. I mean, it's amazing the different kinds of colors and flowers and all that things, because it wasn't really dead, it was just dormant. There's seeds in the ground, they're just sitting there, they're waiting for the proper rain, they're waiting for the proper conditions to hit this valley, that all of a sudden it's going to become this amazing work. I mean, it literally looks like, some of the pictures look like Bob Ross got in there and just went nuts. Minus the trees. There are no trees. But I mean, it's just like, man, Bob Ross went nuts. It's just crazy. See, people of the valley, they see places that are dead, and they know there's life there, that it might be dormant. They see people that might seem dead, and they know there's something in there that's just lying dormant, that if put in the right conditions, they're brought down into the river valley, and we get them some water out of the river, and we get them some of that life-sustaining food, and we bring them in, and we help mold them. We walk around with them, and we say, hey, you're okay. You're not your failures. You're not all of those things. You're not who you were, but there is life in you. I don't need you to be perfect for me to help you. Because if you are dead, if you are in those situations, or you see people in those situations, if you see organizations in those situations, if you see cities, you see countries, you see counties, you see states in those, we just need a few people to be people of the valley where they see dead things and know that there's life in them. That they just need to be put in the right conditions. They need to be given some nourishment. They need to be brought down to the valley and given a shelter that, hey, we're going to walk alongside you. We're going to do what love says. We're going to protect you. We're going to give you opportunities. And we're going to do all of those things, because we got to get to the place where we just stop seeing dead things. I grew up in an area where it was pine trees everywhere. That was the biggest, really was, unless you got close to the river, the biggest crop was pine trees. We kept Yellowwood in business, and Weyerhaeuser and GP. We made all your toilet paper. It comes down from right there in Pennington, Alabama. I promise you, if you use Angel Soft or Quilted Northern, that's, my grandma worked at the company and made lots of it over the years. But one thing they did is when they would go log, they would thin out trees or they would clear cut, you'd always see these dead trees stuck up, just left out in the middle of nowhere. Well, it's because the government mandated that they had to leave them. Well, why did they have to leave them? Well, it's a thing called the red-headed woodpecker and the yellowhammer. You have to leave trees because out of dead trees, there's life inside of that dead tree that then gives life to the woodpeckers, that then something else, a snake or something, eats those, and it just... But in something seemingly dead, it gives life. And somebody was smart enough to say, hey, if we don't leave these trees when we're clear-cutting out here, these birds are going to then die, and then that's going to affect other things. And we've got to see the value in everything. Even the people that we think are too far gone, we've got to see those. That if we can just see them for who they are, we see them bloom. And you know, people get so mad when you put people in certain places, and they say, well, they don't deserve to be up there. They don't live right. They don't act right. They don't talk right. And you know what? You may not like it, but people are going to have a place to serve around here, because it gives me the best opportunity to walk alongside them, and Pastor Daniel and Justin and Jules, to walk alongside them and say, hey, how can we help you through this? And maybe we're just putting them, we're planting them in an environment where we say, hey, we're going to put you in the right conditions to give you everything you need and help you the most, where we can see you bloom, where we can see you find purpose, where we can see you find your calling. Because every person, no matter what they've done, I don't care if they're a serial killer or a brand new baby, every person deserves the opportunity to find purpose, to find their calling, and to walk in it, no matter what they've done. They deserve it. That's part of that loving people, because people of the valley, we see dead things, and we go bring the life out of it. We put them in the right conditions. We know there's life in there. It might be dormant. It might take years to come out, but by God, we are going to stick on that thing and keep loving on it. And we're going to try to bring life. That's what we do. That's who we are. We love God. We love people. We see dead things come to life. And the last building block, because when we're operating in those things, we get to seeing people of the valley is in those dead things, is we've got to encourage people. We got to build each other up. In this church, they were already doing it. Paul tells them. And they can only do that when they do the fourth one. And that's people of the valley, they choose joy every day. Every single day. Joy is an internal satisfaction. It's not being happy and giddy and faking it. No, it's that laying your head down at night knowing you've done everything you could possibly do, that you've done what you're called to do, that you're loving people, you're loving God, you're making a difference. But it doesn't just happen. Sometimes you have to choose joy, because life's hard. We can be like the people of the desert and say, yeah, I see the giants. They're huge. How are we going to get across this Jordan River? Is he going to split it again, or are we going to have to build a bridge? Are the people going to accept us? Or are we going to have to run them out of town? Are they going to be friendly? They're going to be nice? They're going to like us? They're going to like what we do, like who we are, like how we cook, like how we talk? I don't know. Because it's coming. They're going to talk bad about you. They're going to say bad things. You're going to think bad things about yourself. You're going to say, I can't do this. I'm not equipped to do this. I can't do this mentally. No, I can't take this on. Yes, you can. Because it's all about that attitude that leads into all these things, that at the end of the day, we have to choose joy. And I love the way Paul puts it, and I'm going to read it out of the Message just for effect. It says, companions, as we are in this work with you, we beg you, please don't squander one bit of this marvelous life God has given us. He's given us a marvelous opportunity. We're only here for a little while. We talk about that all the time. We sing it in country songs, and we sing it in church, and every gospel song's got it in there somewhere about, when the roll is called up yonder. We ready for that part, but we forget about the life part, that he's given us that purpose. But God reminds us, I heard your call in the nick of time. The day you needed me, I was there to help. Well, now is the right time to listen. And I'm saying this to Madison Assembly. Now is the right time to listen. The day to be helped. It's right now. Don't put it off. Don't frustrate God's work by showing up late, throwing a question mark over everything we're doing. Ooh, that was good. Our work as God's servants gets validated, or not, in the details. Sometimes you just need to sit back and watch. Sometimes you don't need to question everything. It's okay if people fall flat on their face. John Maxwell says, hey, we can turn any failure into, what? A learning opportunity. It doesn't mean we ain't going to fall. We're going to fall. But we're going to get validated. It's all in the details. It's going to work out, because guess what? Hey, church, people are watching. They're watching whether we stay at our post. They're watching whether we do what we say we're going to do. They see if we're going to do it with excellence. They see if we're going to, how are we going to do it? We're going to stay at our post alertly, unswervingly, and in the hard times, when things get hard and the president that we want to be ain't sitting in the White House no more. What are we going to do? Somebody's mean to us on Facebook. What are we going to do? Y'all can't handle that. In hard times, tough times, bad times, when we're beaten up, when we're jailed, when we're mobbed, when we're working hard, when we're working late, when we're working without eating, with pure heart, clear head, steady hand, and gentleness, holiness, and honest love, when we're telling the truth, and when God's showing his power, when we're doing the best, setting things right, when we're praised and when we are blamed, when we are slandered and honored, when we're true to our word, though distrusted, ignored by the world, but recognized by God, terrifically alive, though rumored to be dead. That church is dead over there, beaten within an inch of our lives, but we're refusing to die. We're immersed in tears, yet always filled with deep joy. We live on handouts, yet we're enriching many. having nothing but having it all. What I'm looking for, because what we fail to remember is that this thing called Christianity was not formed on people in America. It was not formed on big houses, big paychecks, government jobs, church jobs, Walmart jobs, public jobs. It wasn't founded on none of that. No, it was founded on a few people who would go out and say, you know what? I am willing to go to death. I'm willing to have my head cut off, be put in hot oil. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to let people know that Jesus is alive, that he came to save their soul, and we've got to stop being so comfortable. Guess what? Guess what? You got anxiety? Guess what? All of us do. You worried about when your next bill is going to be paid? Guess what? We are too. You worried about your kids? We are too. But our concern, because the world is looking, the world is watching us right now, how we perform. How are they going to really stand this test? How are they going to treat people? What are they going to do? Because what we've got to get back to, we've got to get back to people who will do whatever it takes, that they're willing to die. They're willing to lose their houses. They're willing to be uncomfortable. They're willing to go back into the woods and live if they have to, that if the economy goes just to crap, then what are you going to do with God? What is your attitude going to be? Are you going to be people of the desert or are you going to be people of the valley? Because we are people of the valley. I'm not going to be a person of the desert. Y'all can take another lap by yourself. It's not always going to be easy. We're a movement. We're founded on people who were martyred, who would do anything, risk their lives just to tell one person about Jesus. Some of y'all need to go back and watch or read Fox's Book of Martyrs. It will change your life. These people, they were always expectant of Jesus' return. They talked about it. Paul talked about it so much. It was that hope, that blessed hope that, yeah, if I live long enough, if I make it, then that is the blessed hope. The blessed hope of heaven. Yeah, I'm going to go there. Even if I die, I'm going to go there. My favorite story out of Fox's Book of Martyrs is a guy that they literally tied him to a pole, set him on fire. He burns long enough that his ropes break. And in the fire, his hands are on fire, and they literally see him start doing this, clapping. His whole body, his hands are on fire, and he is clapping. And we just need a few people that are willing to die for this thing. Because that's what people of the valley do. They're willing to die. And I don't think it's going to come to that necessarily. But if it does, are you willing? Because that's what it's all about, is that we will do anything short of sin to see people far from God in relationship with him. It might sound crazy. It might sound stupid. You might think we're crazy. You might decide to be one of the people of the desert. But we've got to get past some things. We've got to get past some of these worldly things that when things don't go the way we want, we can't start screaming, it's the end of the world's coming to an end. All these things are marking up because of a presidential election. Because, in fact, we're more upset about the loss of a presidential election than we are the loss of values in this country. Love it or lump it. It's not always going to go the way we want. It's not going to be easy. Justin, would you come? Times might get hard. It might get extreme. But it's worth it for the promised land. Whatever we have to go through, God's going to fight our battles. He's going to go before us. He's going to come behind us. He's going to be all around us. We just need to be people of the valley, not people of the desert. That every time something changes, that it's new. I was just talking this week with Pastor Justin about how, some people get stuck, by the age of 25, I think it is, 30, you're kind of stuck in your music genre, and it stays there forever, I look at Mr. Neal and Paul, and I know the music y'all like. I like that music, and I had a dad and a mom who liked that music. I'm influenced by that, but my music that I like the most, every time I turn on the radio, my grandma goes nuts. And so I learned to like music. That's why my music genres are so wide. I love Elvis. I love Johnny Cash. I mean, my albums that I have are deeper in the 50s and 60s than they are in the 2000s, just because I was influenced by it. And the same thing goes with just like churches, is we get stuck in places where we like church this way. And We don't like all these young bucks coming out and saying, hey, we want to do it this way. We complain about everything behind the scenes. We'll never say it to their face, but we'll complain about it to everybody else. And this is what I have to remind you of. Is what we're doing. We're trying to fish. There's two things we do as a church. We fish, we sell fire insurance. Y'all get that? That's what my uncle always said. My Uncle James, every Sunday morning, he'd say, man, I'm in the fire insurance business. That's what we do. And with fishing, you got to have bait. And guess what? If catfish ain't biting on these minnows, I'm going to go find me a tree with some catawba worms on it. And I'm going to throw some of them out there. If that don't work, I'm going to try to find me another fish and cut up and try to throw it out there and see if that'll catch. I'm going to figure out how to catch fish. So it doesn't matter what it looks like, what it sounds like, what it talks like, how it acts. We're just trying to catch fish. We're trying to bring people in that are far from God into this place. And what we've got to do is we've got to be people like this. Last slide is we just need some people, and you can stand tonight. We just need some people that will choose joy every day, that in every circumstance, that even when things get hard, even when things get rough, that we're going to rejoice, that we're going to keep joying, that we're going to keep bringing out joy in ourselves, that we're going to keep being people of the valley because we are not people of the desert. We are people